The stars stretched endlessly beyond the wide viewports of the Resolute. Captain James Carter stood on the bridge, hands behind his back, eyes locked on the silent beauty of space. His ship, sleek and black, drifted along the outer edges of Sector 9, a region mostly ignored by the Galactic Council. Patrols were routine here. Quiet. Too quiet for a man who had spent his life watching peace slowly suffocate Earth. Carter was a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm presence. Years of military command had stripped him of illusions. He believed in peace once, but now he only believed in duty, to his crew, his people, and his home. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mira Chun, his second in command, "we're receiving a priority transmission. It's coded old encryption." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Source? Untraceable, but it's addressed to you directly. Marked urgent." He walked to her console and leaned over. The encryption was military but outdated, not Council standard, something from Earth's defense forces before full integration. "Strange. Patch it to my quarters," Carter said. "Secure the line. No records." "Aye, sir." He left the bridge without another word. Inside his private quarters, Carter dimmed the lights and activated the console. The message began immediately. A hollow image flickered to life. It was Admiral Riker, his old mentor, long thought retired. "James," the Admiral's voice said, rough and low. "If you're seeing this, things are worse than I feared. The Council is not what it seems. They've built something terrible. A weapon." Carter leaned in. "They call it Project Silence. It's designed to erase entire worlds without trace. Earth is on the list, James. You must not trust the Council. You must prepare. This message will self-delete. God help us all." The transmission cut. The screen went black. Carter stared at the empty display. His jaw tightened. He had always known the Council was strict, but a doomsday weapon? Targeting Earth? He replayed the last words in his mind. "You must prepare." Back on the bridge, Carter's expression was unreadable. "Lieutenant Shun," he said, his voice steady but low, "how soon can we reach Titan?" 3 days at full burn. Plot the course. Quietly. No comms. No Council notifications. She paused. "Titan? What?" He looked at her, eyes serious. "We may not be alone in this." As the Resolute turned from its patrol route and jumped to faster-than-light travel, Carter felt something shift. For years, he'd followed orders, trusted the system, believed in reason. But now he saw shadows behind the stars. And something told him those shadows were watching. If Earth was truly marked for destruction, then silence was no longer an option. The icy surface of Titan spread out like a frozen ocean below the descending Resolute. Orange haze filled the sky, broken only by Saturn's pale curve hanging above. The ship's engines whined as they slowed the descent, kicking up mist from the thick atmosphere. Beneath the surface, far below the ice, a hidden human outpost waited, one not listed on any Galactic Council registry. Captain James Carter stood in the hangar bay as the ramp lowered, steam hissing around him. He wore his black command jacket, crisp and clean, though his mind was heavy with unease. His crew had no idea why they were here, but they followed his orders without question. That trust meant everything. Lieutenant Mira Chun appeared at his side. "Still not going to tell me who we're meeting down there?" she asked. Carter gave her a faint smile. "Someone I haven't seen in a long time. Someone who doesn't exist on paper anymore." They stepped onto the icy ground and moved toward the rock face ahead. A signal beacon pulsed faintly beneath a pile of frozen stone. Carter knelt and tapped in a code. The ground shuddered. With a low rumble, part of the rock slid open, revealing an elevator shaft leading deep underground. The elevator carried them down through layers of ice and rock. Cold light flickered off the steel walls. Mira looked uneasy. "This place, it's not Council approved, is it?" "No," Carter replied. "That's the point." When the doors opened, they stepped into a wide underground facility, dimly lit, crowded with old Earth technology and buzzing with quiet activity. Men and women in plain uniforms moved between consoles, checking scanners and maintaining weapons Carter hadn't seen in years. This wasn't a colony. It was a resistance base. A figure approached from the far end of the hall, tall, broad-shouldered, with a cybernetic eye glowing faintly red. "Captain James Carter," the man said, smiling faintly. "Didn't think you'd come." Carter stepped forward and extended a hand. "Commander Elias Vorn." "Still alive, I see." "Barely," Vorn said, shaking his hand. "But I hear you finally started asking the right questions." They walked together through the base, past hidden launch bays and data centers. Mira trailed behind, absorbing everything in silence. "I received a message from Admiral Riker," Carter said. "He said the Council built a weapon. Something called Project Silence. Said Earth is on the list." Vorn nodded grimly. "It's real. We've been tracking whispers for years. They're building on a moon near the galactic core, locked down tight, guarded by ships that don't even carry identification." "Why?" Carter asked. "Why would the Council go this far?" "Control," Vorn said. "They believe humans are dangerous. Too ambitious. Too independent. They've seen our history. They're afraid we'll never be satisfied under their thumb." Carter looked around the base. These people were soldiers, engineers, doctors, citizens who had vanished from Earth, now working in secret, preparing for something terrible. "How close are they to using it?" Carter asked. Vorn led them into a war room lined with star maps. A large screen showed a countdown, 47 days. "That's when Earth's orbit crosses into optimal firing range," Vorn said. "They'll call it a calibration test. Then Earth will vanish. No warning. No witnesses." Myra's face paled. "We don't even have weapons that can fight back." "No," Vorn said, "but we have something they don't. Fire. And people willing to use it." Carter stood silently, staring at the screen. For the first time in years, he felt fear. Not for himself, but for his home, his people, his crew. "We need proof," he said. "Evidence. Something we can use to wake the world up." Vorn nodded. "Then we'll give it to you." He reached into a locker and handed Carter a data drive. "Everything we've got. Plans, transmissions, ship IDs. You take this back. Broadcast it. Let Earth know the truth." Carter took the drive, heavy in his hand despite its size. "After that," he asked. Vorn smiled grimly. "After that, we fight." Back aboard the Resolute, Carter stood in the command chamber. The crew awaited his orders. For now, he told them nothing. Not yet. He inserted the drive into the ship's system. Files opened, images of the weapon, council records, encrypted commands. It was real. All of it. He looked out at the stars. "They wanted silence," he whispered. "They'll hear us now." The Resolute cut through space like a blade, gliding toward Virulon Prime, the shining heart of the Galactic Council. From orbit, the planet looked like a jewel, wrapped in golden rings and dotted with bright cities that floated above the surface. It was a place of law, diplomacy, and power. But Captain James Carter no longer saw beauty in it, only control. He stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the glowing planet ahead. "Final approach, Captain, Lieutenant Mira," Chun reported. "We're being hailed by Council docking control." "Answer it," Carter said. "Let them think we're here on routine business." In truth, this was no routine visit. The data Carter carried was explosive, proof that the Council had built a secret weapon capable of erasing Earth. It was called Project Silence, and Earth was its next target. He wasn't here to ask permission. He was here to confront them. The landing platform was smooth and polished, reflecting the Resolute's hull like glass. Council officials in long silver robes greeted them without emotion. Security bots hovered nearby, silent and watching. Carter and Mira followed their guide through towering halls lined with marble, past walls inscribed with the Council's code. Unity, order, peace. Each word now felt like a lie. They entered the central chamber, a vast dome of glass and stone. Inside, 12 council members sat in a circle, each representing a different alien species. At the highest seat sat High Chancellor Varnak Thule. He was tall and thin, with pale green skin and eyes that never blinked. He spoke slowly, each word precise. "Captain Carter, we did not summon you. Why have you come?" Carter stepped forward and placed a small device on the center table. With a tap, it projected images in the air, blueprints of the weapon, transmissions, and the countdown to Earth's destruction. "Project Silence," Carter said. "We know. We have proof. You plan to destroy Earth. The chamber went silent. Varnak didn't flinch. You speak of things you do not understand. I understand enough, Carter said. I know you've marked my world for extinction. I know you've built a weapon that breaks your own laws. And I know you fear us. A few council members shifted uncomfortably, whispering in their native tongues. Varnak's expression did not change. The council exists to maintain balance. Humanity spreads quickly, recklessly. Your history is full of war and defiance. We offered peace. You brought unrest. You offered chains, Carter said sharply. You restricted our growth, banned our science, blocked our expansion. You were not ready, Varnak replied. You still are not. Carter leaned forward. If you fire that weapon, we will not die quietly. We will not disappear. There was a pause. Then Varnak stood. You have made your position clear, Captain Carter. This session is over. Security bots moved in. Council guards appeared at the edges of the chamber. Miro whispered, "We need to go. Now." Carter backed away slowly, keeping his eyes on Varnak. As they left the hall, he could feel the weight of every gaze on him. Cold, calculating. Back aboard the Resolute, they prepared to leave orbit. Carter remained quiet as the ship pulled away from Virulon Prime. Mira approached. What do we do now? That was a threat. They'll act fast. They already are, Carter said. I saw it in Varnak's eyes. They won't stop. Suddenly, the ship's alert system blared. Mira turned her console. Incoming projectile, plasma spike, origin, Virulon defense grid. Carter shouted, evasive. The Resolute jerked hard, the blast grazing the outer hull. Shields flared, and alarms rang across the deck. A second projectile launched, but Carter's crew was fast. The ship jumped into hyperspace seconds before it hit. In the silence that followed, Carter gripped the edge of the console. They try to kill us, Mira said, voice low. Carter nodded. They don't want the truth to reach Earth. He turned to the crew, his voice clear. We can't stop now. They wanted us to disappear. Instead, we're going to speak loud enough for every world to hear. He looked out at the stars. The memory of the council chamber burned into his thoughts. The time for quiet was over. The Resolute sailed through deep space, hidden from council eyes. Its engines ran cool, its signal silent. Inside, the ship buzzed with quiet urgency. Captain James Carter stood in the main data room, staring at a single device, the drive he had recovered from Titan. It held the truth. Blueprints of Project Silence. Council memos detailing Earth's scheduled elimination. Surveillance data. Even internal recordings from Virulon Prime. All of it undeniable. Carter tapped a command into the console, copying the files to the ship's core. Beside him, Lieutenant Mira Chun reviewed the broadcast plan. It's ready, she said. Once we go live, it'll reach every major colony, station, and ship across human space. But after that, the Council will know exactly where we are. They already want us dead, Carter replied. Let's give them a reason to fear us. The broadcast began seconds later. The Resolute's signal burst into every human communication network. Screens across Earth, Mars, the Belt, and outer colonies flickered. Military bases, civilian feeds, news hubs, even council-monitored channels. Every screen showed Captain James Carter. This is Captain Carter of the Starship Resolute. I am speaking to every citizen of Earth and every human living under the Galactic Council's rule. His voice was calm, steady. The Council claims to protect peace. That's a lie. They have built a weapon designed to destroy Earth. It is called Project Silence, and it is real. In 43 days, they plan to fire it. Your families, your homes, your future, it's all at risk. Images followed. The weapon, council documents, intercepted transmissions. I serve the council, Carter continued. I believed in order and peace. But I have seen the truth. They do not want allies. They want obedience. And when we refuse, they choose silence over freedom. He paused. But we are not silent anymore. The response was immediate. On Earth, crowds filled the streets. Protests erupted across major cities. People demanded answers from council envoys. Some shouted for war. Others called for unity But even they could no longer ignore the danger. Military leaders, once quiet, activated emergency protocols. On Mars, resistance cells went active. On Titan, Commander Elias Vorn's network spread Carter's message even farther. Colonies that had long felt ignored or restrained by council laws now felt a new fire. The human race was waking up. Back on the Resolute, Carter and Mira monitored the chaos their message had caused. Earth's Defense Council just cut all formal ties with the Galactic Council, Mira reported. They've activated planetary shields. Council ambassadors have been detained in at least 6 cities. Carter didn't smile. Not yet. This is just the beginning. Moments later, a new signal hit their feed. Encrypted. High priority. Council origin. Carter opened it. The screen filled with the face of High Chancellor Varnak Thule. You have committed an act of treason, Varnak said, his voice cold and slow. You have sparked rebellion. Do you understand what you've done, Captain? Carter stared into the transmission. I've given humanity a choice. Varnak's face darkened. There is no choice. There is only order. You will not escape. The signal cut. Mira turned to Carter. That wasn't just a threat. That was a declaration. He nodded. They're coming. Carter stood before his crew on the bridge. The council is on the move. Soon they'll send ships. Maybe worse. But we're not running anymore. We started this fire. Now we carry it forward. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in. We're not just defending Earth. We're defending the right to exist without chains. His crew, silent a moment, began to nod. Then Mira said it first. For Earth. The others echoed her. For Earth. Carter turned to the stars. The council thought humans would kneel. They were wrong. The stars around the Resolute looked calm, but James Carter knew better. Somewhere ahead, buried in the shadows of space, waited the council's greatest weapon, Project Silence. A station-sized cannon, capable of erasing planets. Built in secret, aimed at Earth. Carter stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on a navigation display. The map showed their destination, the Nidros Belt, a dense region of broken moons near the galactic core. That's where the Council had hidden the weapon, according to the Resistance's intel. Stealth systems ready, Lieutenant Mira Chun said. Signal dampeners active. We're invisible, unless they're looking straight at us. They will be, Carter replied. But not before we find that station. The plan was simple, but dangerous. Get in, disable the weapon, and get out, if they could. They had no backup, no fleet behind them. Just one ship, a loyal crew, and a mission that could save billions. The Resolute entered the Nidros Belt under full cloak, weaving between frozen rocks the size of cities. Ice clung to drifting debris. The light from nearby stars barely touched this place. Everything here was dead, except for the weapon. There, Mira said, pointing at the scanner. Power signatures weak but controlled. That's it. The station slowly came into view. It wasn't shaped like a cannon, but like a fortress. Flat, wide, shielded by rotating rock masses. Dozens of turrets lined its surface. 3 cruisers patrolled nearby, dark and silent. We can't fight those ships head-on, Mira warned. We're not here to fight them, Carter said. We're here to cut the wires before they light the fuse. A small infiltration team launched in a stealth shuttle. Carter led the team himself. He wouldn't send others into danger he wouldn't face. Mira went with him, along with 2 engineers and a demolitions expert named Harlan Briggs. They flew low, hugging debris fields, dodging scanners. When they reached the station, they latched onto its underside and cut through a maintenance hatch. Inside, the halls were cold, metal, and silent. The design was unmistakably Council, efficient, sterile, and heartless. Carter moved ahead, rifle in hand. Locate the main reactor, he said. If we take it offline, the weapon won't fire. Briggs nodded. Won't be pretty, but I brought enough charges to drop a moon. They moved fast, slipping past drone patrols, disabling cameras. Mira hacked their way into deeper corridors while the engineers mapped the station's inner systems. Every turn brought them closer to the heart of the beast. But silence didn't last. In the main reactor chamber, they were ambushed. Drones dropped from the ceiling, fast and armed. Blasts of plasma filled the air. Carter dove for cover, pulling Mira with him. Briggs rolled behind a console, shouting, "I've got the charge." The team fought back hard. Mira took down 2 drones with clean shots. Carter dropped another as it tried to flank them. But one of the engineers, Rafi, was hit. He fell without a sound. "Go!" Carter yelled. "We finished this." Briggs crawled to the reactor core, planting explosives along the energy coils. "This'll cook the whole system." 10 minutes. "Set it," Carter said, teeth clenched. The remaining team covered the room while the timer ticked down. They dragged Rafi's body to the wall, but he was already gone. Carter didn't say a word. No time for grief. When the last charge was armed, they ran. The return to the shuttle was chaos. Alarms blared. More drones poured into the halls. Carter led the escape, firing as he ran. Mira kept the path clear with short, precise shots. Briggs was hit in the leg, but kept moving. "Leave me," he grunted. Carter turned. No one gets left behind. He pulled Briggs over his shoulder, and together they reached the shuttle. Mira sealed the hatch. Engines roared to life. The shuttle launched just as the reactor chamber exploded in a blinding flash. The blast rippled through the station, cracking its outer hull. One of the patrolling cruisers turned to pursue them, but it was too late. The Resolute dropped out of cloak, opened its guns, and covered the shuttle's escape. With perfect timing, both vessels jumped to hyperspace, vanishing into the void. On board the Resolute, the crew worked in silence. Mira treated Briggs's wounds. Carter sat alone for a long time. They had succeeded. The weapon was crippled. Earth had a chance now, but at a cost. Rafi was gone. Briggs might never walk again, and the Council would not forgive this. Mira entered the room, sitting beside Carter. "They'll come after us," she said. "I know," he replied. She looked at him. "And what do we do when they do?" Carter turned toward the stars. "We make sure they know Earth will never kneel. Not again." The fire had been lit, and now it was spreading. Earth's sky had never looked like this before. Dozens of alien warships, sharp, glowing, and enormous, pierced the clouds as they entered Earth's atmosphere. Their arrival was silent at first, like ghosts falling from orbit. But soon, the air filled with thunder. Cities trembled. People watched from rooftops and windows as the sky cracked open. The Galactic Council had responded. The destruction of Project Silence had pushed them past diplomacy. Earth's defiance had become a challenge. And now, they were here to answer it. In high orbit, the Resolute hung among Earth's defense fleet, smaller, older ships armed with Earth-made weapons and retrofitted hulls. They weren't as sleek as Council ships, but they were real, built by hands that remembered war. Captain James Carter stood on the command deck of the Resolute, armored in a black command suit. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Mira Chun said beside him. "Mars, Titan, and Ganymede stations have activated defense shields. The belt is holding position. Vorn's rebel ships are en route from the outer colonies." "Good," Carter replied. "When the sky burns, we don't run. We hold." The first shots came from the Council fleet. Blazing energy bolts streaked toward Earth's orbit, targeting defense satellites and relay stations. One of the outer defense ships, Solguard, took a direct hit. It cracked open, flames spilling into space. Carter stepped forward. "Target their lead ship. Fire on my mark." The Resolute responded with fury. Missiles launched, turrets roared, and beams of light lanced through space. Earth's fleet joined the assault, dozens of ships fighting as one. They moved in formation, shields glowing under impact, engines burning hot. The Council ships were advanced, but they were not invincible. Down below, cities lit up with emergency alerts. People were ordered into shelters. Military forces deployed anti-air systems. The Council had underestimated the spirit of Earth. Civilians volunteered to help. Engineers activated old defense grids. Hackers disrupted enemy targeting systems. The whole planet fought back. In the middle of the battle, Carter spotted a larger ship, sleek, black, and more dangerous than the rest. "That's Varnak's command ship," Mira said. "The Judicator." Carter narrowed his eyes. "Give me a channel." The comms crackled. Then, the image of High Chancellor Varnak Thule filled the screen. "You should have stayed silent," Varnak said. "And you should have known," Carter replied. "Humans don't kneel. You are reckless. You will doom your species." "No," Carter said. "You already tried. We just said no." Varnak's image vanished. The Judicator turned and launched its attack. Carter took the Resolute directly into the fight. The ship danced between enemy fire, shields flickering. Explosions lit the stars. One Council destroyer broke apart under the assault from Earth's side, its fragments spinning away like burning glass. Vorn's rebel fleet arrived from the edge of the system, ships stolen from old colonies, modified and fierce. They entered the battle like a storm. The tide shifted. Council ships began to fall back, but not before unleashing everything they had. The Judicator fired its main cannon. It struck an Earth station, Echelon 4, and destroyed it completely. Carter clenched his jaw. Mira locked targeting. "All weapons. But our shields." "Do it." The Resolute flew straight at the Judicator. Every turret opened fire. The sky lit with fire. The two ships collided in a storm of weapons, but Carter didn't stop. "Launch the core disruptor," he ordered. "Direct hit," Mira shouted. "They're losing power now." The Judicator's core flared bright, then imploded. The flagship crumbled, torn apart from within. High Chancellor Varnak was gone. Silence fell over space. The remaining Council ships, without leadership, began to retreat. Earth's fleet didn't chase. They had made their point. The sky, once full of fire, now glowed with drifting wreckage and the fading light of battle. Hours later, back aboard the Resolute, Carter stood alone on the observation deck. He watched the stars. They looked the same, but everything had changed. Earth was not destroyed. It had stood against the greatest power in the galaxy and survived. Mira joined him quietly. "You did it." "No," Carter said. "We did." She looked at the stars too. "What now?" He breathed deep. "We rebuild. We unite. And we remember who we are." Behind them, the crew worked to repair the ship. The wounded were treated. The dead were honored. Messages from Earth came in, celebrations, mourning, and hope. The fire had burned high, but had not consumed them. The war was over. The Council had withdrawn. Their ships were gone, their threats silenced, at least for now. Earth, though scarred, still turned under its blue sky. Humanity had stood at the edge of extinction and held its ground. Captain James Carter stepped out of the Resolute onto solid Earth for the first time in weeks. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Ash still drifted through the sky like gray snowflakes, remnants of the orbital battle that had lit the heavens. But the people, his people, stood tall. Cities were damaged. Buildings were lost. Lives were gone. Yet everywhere he looked, he saw faces filled with something the Council could never understand. Hope. Carter walked through Unity Square in New Geneva, where a crowd had gathered to hear him speak. He hadn't planned to stand before anyone. He didn't want to be seen as a hero. He had only done what needed to be done. But the people needed more than silence. They needed someone to help them look forward. He stepped onto the simple platform made from salvaged steel, taken from an old Council banner post that had been torn down after the battle. The crowd fell quiet. "I didn't come here to give a speech," Carter began, voice firm and clear. "I'm not a politician. I'm not a leader. I'm just a captain who saw what was coming and refused to look away." He paused, scanning the sea of faces. Young, old, wounded, proud. "We were told to obey, to stay small, to stay quiet. But when they pointed their weapon at our world, we answered with fire. And in that fire, we found something worth protecting. Not just our homes, but our voice, our freedom, our future." There was silence, then applause. Soft at first, then rising like a wave. Later, in a quiet part of the city, Carter visited a memorial. Names etched in metal. Crew, soldiers, civilians. One name stood out. Lieutenant Rafi Ghosh, the engineer who gave his life to stop Project Silence. Carter touched the name gently. "He didn't die in vain," Mira said behind him. Carter nodded. None of them did. The world began to rebuild. Earth's nations formed a united defense council, not out of fear, but choice. The colonies on Mars, Titan, Europa, and the Belt opened their doors and shared resources freely for the first time. The resistance wasn't needed anymore. It became something new, a voice for freedom among the stars. Even alien races who had once feared humanity watched from afar, some sending messages of peace, others of warning. The Galactic Council was not dead, only shaken. But they would think twice before threatening Earth again. On the edge of Earth's orbit, the Resolute rested in dry dock for repairs. Its hull was scorched, its systems damaged, but the ship had survived, just like its crew. James Carter stood on the bridge one last time. The ship felt like a part of him now, but he was ready to let it rest. "You really stepping down?" Mira asked, standing beside him. Carter nodded. "I'm no longer needed here. The fire is lit. It's time others carry it forward. Where will you go?" He smiled faintly. "Don't know yet. Maybe find a quiet moon. Watch the stars. Maybe write a book." Mira chuckled. "About what?" "About how they wanted obedience," he said, turning to the stars one last time. "And we gave them fire." He walked off the bridge, leaving the Resolute behind. The sky over Earth was quiet now. But somewhere in the dark, beyond the reach of sensors and stations, new fires waited to be lit by those brave enough to resist, to question, to stand. The story of Earth wasn't over. It had only just begun.